All right, we'll begin with our consent agenda. On page 17, Goliad Auto Parts, $133.76. Need a motion to approve that, please.
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Page 18, Commissioner Edwards, $675.72. Motion to approve, please.
So move.
Second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On page 19, Commissioner White, $125.88. Motion to approve, please.
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
One
Motion
abstention.
carries. One abstention. The remainder of the consent agenda, any comments, questions?
Judge, I got a question about that line item for food for testing sites on page 8. Taken out of that.
Speak up if you can, sir.
I got a question about the food from being for the testing crew out at the weigh station. It was taken out of 12-109-727. We had a big discussion about this, about food being used when EMS was having problems with being things that you went through, Creech, I think, or Mr. Creech, I'm sorry. But my question is, at that time we said you could only take food and stuff.
I wasn't here. I don't know what that discussion involved. We had just to give you the background, we had a request from the state for us to supply food for the personnel that were out there conducting the test. And we felt like we should oblige them. So,
I agree. I'm just saying, at that time, with all the discussion over, I think the EMS had a school with some people from out of town, and they had bought Subway sandwiches or something for that. And problem with the way that was purchased at first. I think we ended up with it going through contributions. Isn't that right, Mr. Creech? Do you remember?
No, sir.
You don't remember, or that's?
Repeat it one more time.
I'm sorry.
It is kind of hard to hear.
it is. So is the issue that it was coded incorrectly, or you have a question as to why we coded it?
Because, you know, if we based it, the last thing we had with this, with buying food, it was, we couldn't buy food unless it was from contributions.
Right. Well, one of the things that we're going to do today, I think it's the next thing on the list, is this is a resolution to help us vote and COVID grant, basically. And I don't know if we can pay for testing that's done that allows people to know whether or not they're sick or not, so they feel comfortable to vote. I don't know how all that's going to work, but there's a bunch of small grants that are being done post haste to try to catch up, and they don't even have the parameters set up, but they're offering grants. So,
Well, my thing is, I got no problem with buying food for these folks that are out there serving us. I understand. I'm just questioning if that's the way we need to pay for it or not. So,
he wants to know if we paid for the lunches for the workers out at the weigh station that tested our citizens, if we paid for that correctly. I think that's, if we paid for that with the correct line item.
I'm just going by what happened years ago when we had a problem with food that was bought for the EMS. And at that time, they said the ruling was that we couldn't purchase food from the county, you know, through the county. We had to use contributions to purchase food. And like I said before, I have no issues with supplying food for folks out there serving us. I get that part. I'm just wondering if that's the best way to pay for it, considering what went on years ago.
Do we have a grant in hand? Have we been approved for the grant? Okay, so we don't have it in hand.
Right now, it's usually easier to put this together, we reclassify something, if it doesn't fall into the grant, but it's easier to keep everything together at one point in time, and then instead of trying to decide where all these different invoices or costs were posted to, we can reclass them if it's a problem. But at least they're all together now, so we know what we've spent so far.
But you're right, Commissioner Edwards, I remember correctly, like you stated, that we couldn't do it that way. They're talking about it had to come under contributions.
And that CARES Act grant money is, when is the deadline on that? I don't remember reading some of it, but I don't remember what the deadline is on it to follow all this COVID stuff that's being spent on.
I don't think that there's a final deadline.
Not-
I think it's an ongoing thing, especially through the elections.
Okay.
So can we circle back around and see if we can find a way to pay for it through one of the, okay.
Just want to make sure, you know, we're doing the right thing.
Is that all the discussion on
I
the?
have one more, Judge. if I
Yes,
may.
sir. Yes, sir.
I have it on page 9 of the AP checklist, Leah. There's a amount of $5,000 coming out of the reserve account for the Pitney Bowes Bank. And will you help me with that one?
That is the postage for the tax.
Okay.
They have to prepay, go to the
So this
machine.
is the postage machine?
Yes, it's postage, actual postage, yes.
Okay. So it's $5,000 that they have spent, or is that $5,000 that was allotted on the machine?
Or what?
Is that $5,000 that was added, allotted onto the machine?
Yeah, it's preloaded onto their machine so they can, under postage, it's what we use to pre-fund it.
Right, and elections are coming up, so they'll have to send all that stuff out, which is gonna run into some postage, correct?
Yes, it's already in their budget, they have money in their account, everything like that.
Okay.
Can I get a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
We have a first and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, approval of the resolution in regard to the 2020 Help America Vote Act, HAVA, CARES Act subgrant to Texas counties. This is a resolution. I can read it. Goliad Commissioners Court agrees that the expenditure of the funds will be in accordance with applicable federal and state law, and any agreement between Goliad County and the state of Texas Office of Secretary of State as authorized under Section 101 of the Help America Vote Act of 2002. And in consultation and agreement with the county election officials as defined in Sections 1201 and 3109 of the Texas Elections Code. Goliad Commissioners Court agrees to assign a single point of contact to act on the behalf of the county in communicating with the Office of Secretary of State, including the submission of all necessary reports. Goliad Commissioners Court agrees claims against the fund shall be audited and approved in the same manner as other claims against the county before they are paid. Goliad Commissioners Court agrees that it will not consider the availability of the funds in adopting the county budget. Goliad Commissioners Court agrees that in the event of loss, misuse, or non-compliance pursuant to any grant award agreement with the Secretary of State, Goliad Commissioners Court assures that the funds will be returned to the Office of Secretary of State in full. This is to help us with the voting that's going to take place. We have one runoff election in the summer. And then we have a general election. I'm sure this will still be in effect in the fall. Hand sanitizers, shields, extra personnel around to ensure that the rules are followed. Pretty straightforward. The amount of this is in the neighborhood of $8,500, but it has not been nailed down completely by the state yet.
That's 8,500 per county, I guess.
Well, it's 8,500 for our county. I'm sure Harris County's getting a bit more than that.
Yes, okay, so it's 8,500 per hour
Yes, sir. At present.
at present.
So can I get a motion to approve this so that we can get some funds from the state?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
In this
Aye.
paragraph before the last paragraph, the Commissioners Court agrees that it will not consider the availability of the funds in adopting the county budget. That means these grants will not be added into the,
General fund.
till the,
This can't be used for normal budgetary items. This can only be used for this specific purpose. So we can't just say, oh, look, we have more money to spend in our budget. Any more questions, gentlemen?
And this is we're gonna have a combined election, I think, in the general election, is that correct, from what I hear?
That's what I'm hearing, yes, sir.
we'll have a what?
Combined election?
Oh, in November, you mean?
Where all the entities are gonna vote in one place or the different places?
School board,
School board, the
groundwater district.
groundwater district,
City.
city, county, state, whatever it is. They're all gonna be in the same polling place.
Well, that'll help us with our handling of the
Correct.
whatever
I'm just saying-
threat level we have.
I'm just saying that it's supposed to be a combined election from what I'm hearing.
All right, we have a first and a second on approving the resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of lease agreement between Goliad County Sheriff's Office and Pitney Bowes for postage meter. Sheriff.
Judge, Commissioners, we have a Pitney Bowes machine that is no longer, I think they said it's no longer able to be used. We're upgrading to a new unit. This is county transfer contract, okay? So I'm requesting that we get this passage so we can go ahead and order our new Pitney Bowes so we can continue doing postage.
Any discussion or questions, gentlemen?
And what's the current machine is out of date, is that what you're saying? Or old age?
Yes.
And it's a Pitney Bowes too, or a different brand?
Anything else? Can I have a motion to approve that, please?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the last item, I'm trying to find some answers because we have some issues. In 2017, we put a wonderful new roof on the auditorium, and we got a bill from the roofing contractor back in the late winter before the first of the year. The auditor's office had a lot of discussion both by telephone and by email with the accounting department at the roofing company. We were unable to get it resolved. Commissioner Bruins made a call and it got resolved, and he had some questions. He didn't know why he was having to do that. So I opened up the folder and there's a problem. And then I'm hoping y'all can just explain, we can go on about our business today. This contract was supposed to be handled by an organization called TIPS. TIPS is an acronym for the Interlocal Purchasing System. It's a educational backed buying service that is based in Pittsburgh, Texas. And they take away a lot of the legwork and efforts that are necessary to go out for bids, public postings, things of that nature. It just makes the bid process much simpler. On February 13th, 2017, Centurion Industries, ALR Roofing Systems Division, sent a letter to Commissioner Bruins detailing the scope of the work that they intended to do. And one of the things that it listed was that the quote produced was using the TIPS co-op. The TIPS co-op normally charges 2% of whatever the contract amount is as their fee. So we contacted TIPS and received a response back from their legal counsel. And here's the response. The Goliad County profile has been updated and a member portal prompt has been sent to the requested contacts. Additionally, in the search going back to the origin of membership, there have been no purchases made using the TIPS system. And we have another one here. Thank you for reaching out to TIPS for our telephone conference this morning. Goliad County was requesting written confirmation from TIPS regarding whether a 2017 purchase from ALR Centurion Industries was a recorded TIPS purchase. Per our review, neither vendor nor member reported this purchase to TIPS, nor was a TIPS vendor fee collected for this purchase. So here's why this is a problem. We presented the contract and the bids to the city, and they sent us a check on 6/23/17 for $182,000. Copy of the proposal letter saying that we had acted in accordance with TIPS and so forth. And it appears that that didn't happen, but hopefully y'all will be able to enlighten me and we can move on. But as of now, I have not been able to uncover anything that indicated that we did work for TIPS. I've got the agenda for that day in court, 13th February, where we joined TIPS. No fee required. We joined them. We received the proposal letter from Centurion Industries, and we accepted the contract all in one day, and we left out the part where TIPS sends us what the prices are. So at this point, I don't know whether we did, if we got a deal and got the job done for $100,000 less than it was worth. I don't know if we paid right on the money or I don't know whether or not we paid $100,000 too much. But the problem with the city is I see as a stumbling block, because we assured them that we went through all the necessary and proper steps to comply with the TIPS bidding process, and it didn't happen. So rather than me ramble on, if y'all would just tell me what happened. If you don't know, just say you don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to do or where I'm supposed to go with this.
So you're saying that the TIPS legal counsel said that we did not go through them for the process?
That's correct. And I'm saying that we've never done business with them.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Has it been historically the auditor that goes out for bids? When we have to do bids for road material, or roofing, or anything else, doesn't the auditor send out the packages for the bids?
Check into that, nothing's sure.
That's my point. You guys were relying on the auditor, the previous auditor, to do that. If it didn't get done, then it looks like it fell on the previous auditor not doing it.
Well, just to reiterate what I said, no, please, if y'all have something to add to it, because we did all of it, this was all done in one day. We got a proposal, we joined an organization, and we accepted the contract all in one day without receiving any other pricing or any assurances that we were getting the best deal. We could be right on the money or we could be off $100,000 in either direction, and I don't know, but I do know that we told the city that we had followed all the bid procedures, and right now it does not appear. So that's all I've got. I'd appreciate some feedback.
I tend to agree. Usually the auditor is the one that handles that kind of stuff, Judge. I mean, I don't know. Actually, maybe the previous auditor, I guess. I'm guessing. I do kind of remember that you talked about the agenda and where we approved to be a member of that organization.
Right.
I recall that.
Yes, sir. It happened the same day that we accepted their contract and joined TIPS.
So what are we getting at? We're not getting the money or?
We've already gotten the money. My fear is the city's going to come back and want their $182,000 back because it wasn't as represented.
Are they a member of the TIPS?
No, I disagree.
Sir? Okay, well, that's great then.
No, I think this is just a way of digging up dirt on the commissioner's court.
I'm not digging up, I'm not pointing any fingers. If it's a legal opinion, you can, sir. Okay.
I think this is just a way of digging up dirt. The project has already been done. The commissioner's court relied on the auditor to go out for bids. Whether or not it's $100,000 over or $100,000 less or right on target is totally immaterial.
Not to me, sir.
Go back and get money, another corporation that did it if they paid $100,000 too much. Or what do you do with the $100,000 less? In other words, this budget relying on this project has come and gone. The city relied on our representations. Those representations were that we went through the process. We had an auditor who is responsible for doing the bidding. He's always been responsible for doing the bidding. As far as the last 20 plus years I've been here, which is a lot longer than anybody else, the auditor has always done the bidding on behalf of the county.
Okay.
And so I think the issue is maybe you ought to talk to the former auditor.
Maybe we will.
This court relied on the auditor to do his job.
Okay.
And if it didn't, then that's a mistake.
Okay. Okay,
The city has no legal cause of action, as I can finish up. If you make a mistake, then they have no legal cause of action. So I think this is just a waste of time.
okay. Well, everybody gets an opinion, sir.
When I took on this project back then, 4 years ago, whatever, 4 years ago, with the city, because they paid for half of it, so they had to do their homework also. The tip was explained to me the same as buyer's board, that
Yes, sir.
they're approved by the government to do work for entities and without bids. Okay, so going with the city and them doing their homework, this was the company that they've done several jobs in Goliad, the school, the city, and the county. And that's what went by.
Okay, well,
But I would think they would be the ones, they're the member of TIPS.
we are also a member of TIPS.
And also, we get this agenda at 2:40 something this week.
I don't know what happened 3 years ago, sir, and neither do you.
Well, I could have called these people and maybe had them here at the meeting to explain to you, but there again,
Right.
we don't get our packet in time to,
Posted it Wednesday. It's posted on the website Wednesday.
said something about a contract. Yeah, these people, it was a holiday weekend and they're out of town or whatever. And so I could have had somebody here to explain some of this to you, but
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Hordalika, the sales rep for Centurion, he clearly says in here that the quote was used producing tips. So he lied on his, he misrepresented, excuse me. He misrepresented on his quote what steps were taken to come up with these dollars.
That's the vendor you're talking about.
That's the vendor. And I don't know whether we need to have him in here. And I'm not opposed to doing that. This is not
Well,
I am not slapping anybody around, and that was incorrect.
you're saying that the vendor said that he followed all the steps
I'm saying that
in that piece of paper there.
he wrote this letter, he addressed it to Commissioner Bruns, he gives the scope of the work. It says, quote, producing TIPS co-op. And the only other thing I see unusual about it is that he waived the performance bond. So, I mean, that's,
I mean, if the vendor says he agreed to the tips, whatever,
yeah.
we're good. Correct?
Well, if you're not opposed to have people giving you fraudulent quotes, if you're not opposed to him saying we did everything right when in fact it wasn't done at all.
He's saying it's done right.
He's saying it is right, but we have the legal counsel saying it didn't happen.
His legal counsel.
No, legal counsel for TIPS says you never did business with us, nor did the vendor.
Well, then it would be the vendors.
I'm thinking so. What would y'all like to do about this?
Well, it's,
I mean, how do you know what the numbers were supposed to be?
I mean, here again, I mean, it's been paid and gone.
It's
Different budget.
It's definitely paid and gone. So your choice is to what, Mr. Edwards? Let him go? Let him go? Is it Commissioner Morales, let him go?
I'm leaning that way myself. I mean, it says there in black and white, you're saying it, it's right there.
That what?
That the vendor followed all the steps. That's what you just said, correct?
That's what he said, that he followed all the steps.
And it's in another previous budget, and the bills have been taken care of and paid for, is that correct?
Well, I guess that's up for discussion. They've done this last year for another $24,000. that was 3 years in arrears. That's what brought the whole thing up. It's not like I just go digging through the trash can, see what I can find.
I'm not saying that, I'm just saying what you're saying right there on the paper.
Okay, so we had Centurion Roofing
Right.
write something on here that is obviously not true. But what I would recommend is bringing Centurion Roofing in at some point and asking them a question.
Why should we ask them a question? That seems like the attorneys for that vendor or Centurion to get together and figure that problem out. Correct? If it's not done.
I guess I'm not being clear. He told us that he did things to make our quote legal.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen. Didn't happen, according to the vendor being Tips. Didn't happen. So what do we do about this? Do we bring them in and ask why he told us all that had been done? Do you let them go? I'm asking, and if the city says we'd like to have our $182,000 back, I don't know. Counselor says that that's not going to happen. I'll take his word for it.
Again, like I said, I mean, that's a past previous budget that's been gone as far as we know. We, the Commissioners Court here knows that the bills have been paid and that's been taken care of. The roof is up and done.
Statutes of limitations don't disappear because budget numbers
I
change.
understand that. But
And I view this as serious if this guy said that, and y'all acted, if Commissioner Edwards voted on this, assuming that everything on this was,
I don't think Commissioner Edwards was in office at that time. Was it? Oh, in 16?
this was 17.
Yeah, we started on the project. It took 2 years to get this all done. The contracts with the city. There again, the city was involved in this. They had their lawyer look at the contracts. They paid for half of it. So I don't know what you're getting at. I mean, it was
I
all
don't know how to say it in any plainer English.
care of by two government entities that had lawyers
It
and
was based on this man with the salesman for the company saying that he'd followed all the rules and they used Tips to gather the quotes. That did not happen.
well, that's with them then. Why don't you call them? Why didn't you put this out a little sooner so we could have them here and to explain some of this?
that's what I'm trying to say.
That's my question. Do you want to have them in here to find out what went on?
You got the question, ask it, ask them. Don't ask us.
All right, we'll take no action on this, and I'll keep on digging, and we'll find out
I have a question.
what went on.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
If this was started 2 years prior to 17, then we only became a member of Tips in 17 on the same day we passed this. How does this guy say he followed the rules of Tips?
If I'm not mistaken, they are the ones that are the member of Tips
We are too.
and Buyers Board.
We're a member of Buyers Board. I don't know how that relates to Tips, but
I'm not
one
sure.
of the
how-
agenda,
I think
one of the agenda items that day was to join Tips, because we had to be a member. We don't need to belabor this. I'm more than happy to call Centurion and find out what their story is. I'm more than happy to do that. I thought that y'all could say, well, this happened, that happened, that's why this happened. But I'm not getting any of that, so I'm assuming that you just took the word of the man who wrote the contract, and that's not a bad thing. Unless they weren't being honest.
How are we in the court to determine if they're that way or not that way? I mean, the thing was taken care of. We went under, because he's the one that did all the bids and stuff and let it go at that.
Okay, the vendor does not pay the fee. The county in this case would pay the 2%. We didn't do that. We never requested bids and pricing for this particular project. Nor did the roofing company, but they told us they did. It's a large number. It's $364,000. It's a large number.
Discuss this with the city?
No, sir.
I paid half the bill. I would think you'd discuss it with them too before you start making a bunch of accusations.
The city was not here when y'all approved it. So the first step is to find out what happened that day.
They approved it in their court.
Sorry?
I'm sure they approved it in their court.
They paid in June.
Right, but they approved the contract in their court, not our court. They have their own court.
Y'all approved this contract on February 13th, the same day you joined. And I'm guessing there was never a request for proposal even put out. I don't know. I don't know the answer. Y'all were all here. I thought maybe you could help me with it.
4 years ago.
Okay. And you have notes you can refer to and a review back, or do you just want me to get on the roofing company? Or do you want care at all?
It's been done, Judge. I mean, it's paid for, the bills are paid, just like I said a while ago. If there's anything, any recourse, it has to be between the vendor and TIPS or the other group there.
TIPS is a service provider, and they weren't engaged by us or the roofing company. So they don't have any recourse. They just weren't picked to do the work. But they did invoke their name in the contract. I don't think TIPS is going to do anything. If y'all don't want to do anything else, just say so.
I'm saying so.
Commissioner Edwards?
You know, the work was done. I've been involved off and on for 20 years with that auditorium and that roof. And I've sat in quite a few meetings over the years and heard lots of numbers and lots of ideas on how to fix that roof. I was present when we went out there and they described what they were going to do, how they were going to do it, with the concerns of the water hitting the arena, people being able to see from the top into the arena without the roof obstructing all of the view. We got it done, and it stood up to Hurricane Harvey. You know, I think if we lost a gutter, that's about all we lost out there. We got good work. The price was within all the ranges, all the years that I've been involved in this, it was in the range. So I had no reason to doubt that the price was $100,000, as you want to say, over or under. It was within the ranges that we had been discussing for years. And it seemed like a quality company turned out to be a quality company. If it could stand up to Harvey, I got no complaints with it. So I think whatever went on here, I mean, we buy tractors through Buy Board, and I assume, you know, Buy Board does their diligent work, but I don't see that when I buy one. I just know I get a Buy Board price, and it's going to be 2% more because we're paying for Buy Board to say they went out and got more bids. Now, I don't know whether they do that or not. You know, we just say when we go to the tractor company, we want to buy through Buy Board, and they give us a quote based on Buy Board.
Okay.
So we did the same thing here, Judge.
I understand that. You took the word of the vendor that he'd done all the right stuff. So you find out 3 years later that, in fact, he didn't do the right stuff, which makes it, if you get right down to it, a purchase that shouldn't have happened. I don't blame y'all for taking the word of the sales guy that in a contract. He signed his name to it. But he shouldn't have represented something that was not correct. And it enabled him to sell a roofing job without any competition. So there was some stimulus involved for him to do this.
Again, I don't know if there was any competition involved in this because, like I say, I don't know what, in the case of Buy Board and tractors, you know, I don't know that buy board, they don't come out, when I go to John Deere and say, I want this tractor, I don't see a quote come back from Victoria Farm Equipment for Massey Ferguson.
Right.
So I don't know whether there's any competition involved in this. I've made the decision that I want this. I don't see anybody coming back to me saying, well, you know, I can get you this tractor for this price. That doesn't happen. So, I mean, I understand there was a mistake made, but, as far as I'm concerned, we got a good roof and we got it within the realm of a real price. It wasn't out of, from the numbers I had seen over the years, this was right in the middle of everything. And it was at, you know, 10 years from the first bid, it was right there with the bid 10 years ago. Now, I don't think it was quite the same way that we were doing it then, and we didn't do it, as a lot of things happened over the years. But I feel like we got what we wanted. And,
We're satisfied with the work.
yeah.
I'm just unsatisfied with the bidding process. Okay.
I don't think that should fall on us. I mean,
Well, these rules are set in place for a reason. They're set in place to protect the public and allow us to be good stewards of the money that we have purview over. And when we join an outfit and get their proposal, get the vendor's proposal and accept it and sign off on it without getting any other prices, I don't know. It is what it is. Well, that's all I have with that. I appreciate your indulgence. Do we have any announcements that need to be made? If not, I need a motion to adjourn, please. Second?
second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.